Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's
Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna open this Thesis defense.
Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. So tonight we will have the second contender of the night. It is M.Pd. Yeah, and Emma, since you will be the second contender of the day, I'm gonna give you a chance here to explain your complete thesis. Yeah, and please give us a clear, comprehensive kind of answer based on your complete thesis. But before we are going to start this thesis defense, let's recite Basmalah together, yeah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Now time is yours, Emma. Best of luck. Come on, you may start doing share screen and then explain your PowerPoint presentation. Come on.
So I share screen it, sir. For PPT.
Okay, come on.
Wait, mister. Wait. Okay. You can see it, sir.
Okay, try to make it full screen first, please.
Right. I'm sorry.
Okay, come on. Best of luck.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
The Honorable Mr. Dr. Sofian Hadi, M.Pd, who has been my examiner. My name is Muhamad, and today I'm going to explain my thesis with the title is Teachers Code Switching in FL Classroom, a case study. So the first slide consists of chapter 1, is about background of the study. In the current of era globalization, it requires us to be able to communicate in various foreign language, especially English, which is an international language. So skills in using English are needed to master knowledge, to have extensive relationships, and also to have a good career. So to support students in accepting English, teachers are required to find an effective way of delivering material, especially foreign language learning. And based on my experience when doing internship 1 and 2, which observed teachers teaching English, the most common problem found was that teachers only explained English material only using the students' mother language or only using full in Indonesian, so that it makes students feel confused when understanding or faces the words full in English. So with the existence of code switching using two language by teachers, students will be able better understanding what is explained by the teacher. Therefore, I am interested in finding out what the type and function are carried out by teachers in FL classroom. And according to HERC 2012, code switching is refers to instances in which people alternate at least two language or language varieties in a single conversation or across sentences or clause boundaries. So in this case, I have qualified the type of code switching used by English teachers and what the reason teachers use code switching during online learning. And some of studies have explored about teachers code switching in FL classroom. One of them comes within 2018, which qualified which clarified the types and functions of code switching carried out by teachers in network classroom. The research showed that the most dominant type found during the observations were text switching and intersentential switching. Meanwhile, the most dominant functions found during the observations were to maintain discipline, to translate new words or sentences, to build the solidarity and intimate relationship with the student. And for the next slide, it consists of chapter 2 is about theory. So for data analysis, I used two theories. The first is from theory of Poplack in Smith 2015. So this the theory of Poplack is used to classify based on types, namely intersentential switching, intersentential switching, and text switching or extra code switching. In intersentential, a sentence contains two codes in one clause. It means like the teacher switched by inserting clauses or phrases from one language to another in the same sentence. And for the example, the sentence like ada beberapa yang sudah get additional score like Dinda and the others like that. And in intersentential switching, code switching occurs when the speaker or teacher after completing a sentence from one language and then switch to another language in the next sentence. For example, the sentence like you have to know all. Kita lihat contohnya yang lebih simple like that. Meanwhile, in text switching or extra code switching occurs where a text from one language is inserted into a sentence otherwise in another language. For example, the sentence like you look at the example, jelas ya, like that. And the second theory I used proposed by Sir in Saraswati 2014. So the theory of Sir is used to identify the background of reason or causes the teacher used code switching during online learning, namely topic switch, affective function, and repetitive function. In topic switch, code switching is used to improving language understanding through the topics described. And in affective function, it means like the teacher does code switching to make students feel comfortable, or during learning, students were not feel bored, so that students and the teacher share affection during the online learning process. Meanwhile, in repetitive function, repetitive function is recruited by the teacher in explaining the meaning of words and sentences, like that. And the next slide is consists of chapter 3 is about method and procedures. So in this research, I used qualitative method research with a case study design. So why I use qualitative method and a case study design? Because according to Ari et al. 2010 defined that qualitative research that is a holistic understanding of a certain event or natural social setting. So in the study, I qualitatively described what types of code switching used by English teachers and supported the description by presenting the reason why these teachers use switch codes of Indo-Eng and Eng-Indo based on its function. And according to Hutgets and Stoll 2012, said that in a case study research, a particular event, situations, or social conditions is investigated, and the process is explains how certain situations and conditions occur is provided. So this study I made to see what the type is used by English teachers and why teachers do code switching. And this research was conducted on March until June in Manfaat Jakarta, so Pondok Pinang, South Jakarta. And the subject of this research were 2 English teachers in Manfaat Jakarta. And for procedures, so procedures for data analysis, for collecting the data, collecting the data, it has been 2 steps. The first is the observation. So observations were conducted in 6 meetings to 2 English teachers, which each of them was being observed for 3 meetings. And observations were made in collecting the data for types and functions of code switching carried out by teachers during online learning. And the second step is the interviews. So interviews were conducted after observations for 6 meetings has been completed, and interviews were conducted online via Google Meet for English Teacher 2 and Zoom meeting for English Teacher 1 for about 27 minutes. And interviews were conducted to find out what the reason these teachers used or conducted code switching in English learning. So all of observations and interviews I have also recorded so that no data was missed. And the next slide, it consists of chapter 4. It's about findings. So after conducting observations and interviews, I found the final results and findings from observations and interviews. So based on observations on English Teacher 1 or EP1, it can be seen that there are 193 types of code switching performed from a total 37 types of intersentential, 29 types of intersentential, and 127 types of text switching or extra code switching. Meanwhile, based on observations on English Teacher 2 or EP2, it can be seen that there are 263 types of code switching performed from a total 12 types of intersentential, 15 types of intersentential, and 236 types of text switching or extra code switching. So from that, it can be concluded that the most dominant type is used, or the type is often used by English teachers in Manfaat Jakarta is text switching. And based on observations on English Teacher 1 or EP1, it can be seen that there are 193 functions of code switching performed from a total 33 functions of topic switch, 49 function of affective function, and 112 function of repetitive function. Meanwhile, based on observations on English Teacher 2 or EP2, it can be seen that there are 263 functions of code switching performed from a total 37 functions of topic switch, 65 function of affective function, and 161 function of repetitive function. So from that, it can be concluded that the most dominant function used are the function often used by English teachers in Manfaat Jakarta is repetitive function. So for that, use code switching for repetitive function is strengthened by teachers' answers from interview session. Both teachers say that they are use code switching to make it clear when delivering when delivered the material, so that students will be understand more quickly. And teachers did code switching using Indonesian after using English, so that students were not confused and will be better understand when the teachers delivered the material. And the last slide, it consists of chapter 5. It consists of conclusion. So based on the research conducted on 2 teachers who teach English at Manfaat Jakarta, it can be concluded that teachers are deliberately doing code switching as an effective method with various types and functions. And based on observations on 2 teachers who teach English at Manfaat Jakarta, it can be concluded that English teacher 1 performed code switching with 193 types and functions. Meanwhile, English teacher 2 performed code switching with 263 types and functions. And for use code switching for repetitive function is strengthened by English by teachers' answer in interview session, where that teachers are aware for students' ability understanding, so that teachers use code switching and students will be better understand and were not confused, so that there was no miscommunication between teachers delivering material and students understanding. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Emma. Now let's go back to your first slide, please.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. From your title here, Teachers Code Switching in EFL Classroom, a Case Study. So my first question, why did you decide to analyze, to describe teachers code switching, not teachers code mixing? Come on.
Because my research always focused on students' problems, and still very rare or few studies that excitements about teachers. So it makes me want to research and explore about teachers' problems and study the behavior that teachers do when using code switching. And that and also I chose this title because code switching is a natural or unavoidable part of the learning process, especially foreign language, such as in learning English, like that.
Okay, since you claim that it is better to analyze teacher code switching than teacher code mixing, now I want you to please try to give me the difference between code switching and then code mixing, please.
So the difference between code switching and code mixing, as my opinion, that if in a speech, even there is a transition from one language, closest to another language clause, then the event that occurs is code switching, namely code switching. Meanwhile, meanwhile it's in speech, even the clauses and phrases consist of mixed clauses and phrases, and each clause and phrase no longer supports in its own function. The and then the event is called code switching. Code mixing. I mean.
Try to answer my question using example. Come on. This one is the example of code switching, the teacher code switching, and then this one is the example of teacher code mixing. Please, Emma.
For example, like code mixing, code switching, like in my research, the teacher say sit with two language and also code mixing, and the difference like code switching, like the teacher said.
Just give me an instant sentence, please. Which one is
yes,
code
yes,
switching?
yeah,
Which one
Mister, yes,
is code
yes,
mixing?
yes, yes. code switching, the example like you have to know all. Kita lihat contohnya lebih simple. That is code switching, and in code mixing, like the example.
Come on, what is the example?
Yeah, listen, wait. Jangan kemana-mana di sini aja. Jangan kemana-mana di sini aja. You know, like that. That's the example of code mixing, maybe.
Okay, thank you. Go to your first chapter, please. Okay, from your background of the study, you focus here on type of code switching, and then because the use of code switching by teachers based on its functions. So what kind of the function that used by the teacher while the teacher use code switching in teaching and learning process? Emma?
Because, sorry, Mr. Can you repeat it?
Okay, since your focus for this research here is about code switching by the teacher, okay, so what kind of the function that used by the teacher in doing or in making code switching, please?
The kind of function code switching used by the teacher based on my theory, like topic switch, effective function, and repetitive function. Right. And so why I use this function because almost all previous studies about teachers code switching, especially in learning activities, for function use theory of observed, because indeed the two theories, indeed these theories described broadly or commonly occur in learning activities. That's why I classified this function.
That's
Yeah, because it's more commonly I use this theory for teachers' function of code switching.
okay. Thank you, Emma. Next chapter, please. Next chapter, come on. Okay, there we go. For the second chapter, you were mentioning from Luck and Schmidt, yeah? Classified code switching into 3 types. Yeah, intrasentential switching, intersentential switching, and text switching. Now I want you to please try to explain your theoretical framework for your second chapter for the thesis, please.
Can you repeat it, Mr.?
Okay, try to explain more about your theoretical framework that you will. Come on.
About this theory first, sir. Yeah, Poplar. Theory of Poplar. The types. I mean, your question.
Yeah, what I mean, try to explain your theoretical framework. How did you build your theory? Yeah, and then till it became the theoretical framework for your research, please.
Oh yeah. Okay. First, I participated in the learning by just observing and listening carefully to what the teacher said word by word, then typing it in carefully to what the typing it in the observation said, sorry, and to avoid missing the data, I also recorded during the learning activities so that I could listen it again and again to avoid that method. And first, yeah, so for the times like that, Mr. And and for the types, and for the types after typing it, and then I qualify it into based on the types in intersentential, and text switching, sentence by sentence.
That's all?
Yep.
Okay, you're not answering my question. Okay, let's go with the third chapter, please. Research method.
Okay.
Okay, third chapter. You're mentioning about qualitative method, case study, observation, and then also interview, and then recording. Do you mind, please, try to enlighten me with your comprehension about case study, please. What is it? A case study?
The define of case study. Because case study will usually be qualitative, so it will produce a narrative description of a behavior or an experience, and therefore in this research, case study as an approach carried out with the aim of studying and also investigating phenomenon or even behavior of an organization or individual. In other words, I investigated phenomenon, namely code switching of the teacher, and produced a narrative description of the teacher's behavior, namely code switching learning.
Okay. When I ask you about your comprehension dealing with study, I'm not asking you why did you choose case study. What I mean here, what is it case study based on your perspective? Based on that's the question, my dear. Come on.
Wait. So that in case study research, in my opinion, the case being studied or researched can be an organization or individual action or even that occurs certain time and place. In my opinion. That's my comprehension about this study.
That's all?
Yes, sister.
Okay. And then you're mentioning also recording. So what is it? Observation, interview, and then the result here is in a form of recording. What is it?
So in observation, you mean the process, isn't it? You mean the process or what? Can you repeat? Can you repeat it again?
Emma, come on, who's with you?
Okay.
You are with out there?
So in the collecting the data, I conducted observations with a total of 6 meetings, and each observation I listened carefully to what the teacher said during the online learning. In addition, to avoid missing the data, I also recorded every observation to listen back to the teacher's speech during online learning. And while listening, I write down or typing down the sentences and qualify it according to the type and the type and the function based on the theory used and based on the theory used and for for the function also I qualified it from looking at the teacher's actions to students and during teaching English whether to change topic, express affections to the students and express 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 affections to students by warning or giving feedback or advice as an effective function and or repeating on explanation where students don't seem to respond to the teacher as a repetitive function. So and then when the and when the observation was finished, each teacher had been observed for 3 meetings. So I conducted interviews which was conducted online via Google Meet and Zoom meeting. So the question and then the questions given to the teacher relate to code switching that is carried out during learning and interviews were conducted to strengthen the teacher's reason for code switching in learning English. Like that. That's all.
That's all? Okay.
Yes.
My is to the west and then you're heading to the east. Nice one. Okay. Next chapter.
Yeah.
Okay. You're finding here is a total of 193 types and function of code switching. Really? This much?
Yes.
190 types and function of code switching? Each or in total between the types and function here, Emma.
Sorry, Mister. Can you repeat it? Because
Okay, you're mentioning
mm-mm.
part one, yeah, use a total of 193 types and function of code switching. So here, 193 here, it is for the types only, or it is for the function. How many for the types, and then how many for the function?
Oh, yeah. So based on observations, as I described it before, that based on observations on English teacher one or participant one or ET1, can be seen that there are 193 types and functions of code switching, and for the types from a, and some types is from a total 37 types of intersentential and 29 types of intrasentential and 127 types of text switching or exact code switching. And for a function, from also 193 functions from a total 33 functions of topic
Okay.
switch.
Second. So here, 193 for each. 193 for the types, and then 193 also for the function then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here it is not the total. Yeah. If it is the total, so you're gonna add it 193 multiple 2. Yeah, so that will the total of type and function. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not only 193, okay? You better revise this one. Okay, next slide, please. Your conclusion.
All right.
Okay, no more question for you, Emma. Very much. And then now you may close your PowerPoint presentation, please.
But can you repeat it?
Okay, you may close your PowerPoint presentation and close your explanation, please.
Oh, so on the research conducted on two English teachers would teach English in Jakarta, it can be concluded that teachers are deliberately doing code switching, with various types and functions, and based on observations on English teacher 1 or ET1, it can be seen that there are English teacher 1 did code switching with 193 types and functions, and meanwhile English teacher 2 did code switching with 253 types and functions. So, and the most dominant type used, or the type is often used by English teachers, is text switching. Meanwhile, the most dominant function used, or the function is often used by English teachers, is repetitive function. So also for code switching used for repetitive function is strengthened by teachers' answers from interview sessions. The teachers use code switching to make it clear when delivering the material, so that students will be able to better understand, and there is no miscommunication between teachers and the referring material and student understanding. Maybe.
Okay, thank you very much, Emma. I guess you may close your presentation. Yeah, your PowerPoint, you may close it, please. Close it. Okay, there we go. For your complete thesis, I don't think I'm gonna read it because you have many things that to revise. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you are going to revise all of your thesis, complete thesis, and then you will have only 3 days to do the revision.
Really, Mister? 3 days?
2 days
Oh my
only.
God! Give me 1 week, please.
No.
Oh my God.
All the content is
Oh my God.
only 3 days. Yeah, 3 days to revise their thesis. Yeah, and thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, let's end this thesis intensive reciting Alhamdulillah together. Yeah,
Alhamdulillah, ya Rabbil Alamin.
and then you may stop recording, please. Stop the recording.
Okay.
Okay. You're still recording. Stop the recording, please.